Thank you guys for coming once again. As we had said and communicated, we'll be having our guest, Advocate Duma Boko. Can you please give him a round of applause? And then next to Advocate, we have Mr. Nzima. Right, can you give him a round of applause? And then part of the entourage, we have our Dr. Tseko. Can you give him a round of applause? So Dr. Tseko here is an economist at the University of Botswana. He's a lecturer. Give him a round of applause. And on my left side, we have Mr. Nick Bentley. Give him a round of applause. So we are here to have a campus conversation seminar as communicated. We are here to have a chat with our guests. We are here to converse. We are here to share ideas. We are here to talk as students. We are here to converse as peers and share ideas, share any possible question that you could have had, share any possible idea that you could have had. Remember that our theme is creating platforms for student empowerment. This seminar is an opportunity, it's a platform for student empowerment. We have our good Dr. Tseko here. He's a lecturer at the University of Botswana, an economist by profession. There are many things that you can learn from Dr. Tseko. We have Mr. Nzima, we have Advocate Duma Boko. There are many things that we are going to learn from each other today. There are many things that we are going to share with each other today. So please feel free, if you feel like somehow, just relax. You can see our guest is wearing smart casual. So it shows you that we give because my guests are wearing smart casual. But just relax, feel at home. Don't worry about anything. Of course, it's just us and our guests. So please feel free. Thank you. So I'm going to be handing over to Advocate Duma Boko. But before I hand over to you, I would like to give a few minutes to Mr. Nzima and a few minutes to Dr. Tseko.
I'm not going to say much because Kimo Highly Niger, this is where I live. So I'll leave a lot to our guests to say. But welcome him to the constituency. It's I've met a couple of you guys during the campaigns and voter registration. I see a couple of faces that I've met that I know. I'm not going to say which ones. But to encourage you to go and register if you didn't register for in the past 2 registrations. Nakin Zima Tiroya Neke City Topo Monkaulong Yalo Night Abo Parliament. So I'm not going to say much, but welcome you guys here and welcome the president also for him to share what he brings from the city, from the capital city.
Thank you. Now I'll hand over to Dr. Tseko.
Do you want knowledge? Like we go oversight, we are going to go University of Botswana. She's economics. I believe some of you may have encountered economics in your life. This is what I teach. Well, I'm part of the president's entourage. I'm always around. This man is not with him. I'm always with him. So even though I'm an economist, I work more like his bodyguard. Now you can tell how important this man is and how privileged you are to have him here today. Well, I would say before he speaks that one of his biggest concerns is youth unemployment in Botswana. I think all of us will agree that we have one of the biggest challenges is facing youth unemployment. And the UDC's main priority when you take over, not if, when you take over in October, is to ensure that we create jobs for you. It's always easy when you're still going to school or young. But solo like it's 2 point something up. Is it 2 point something? It can never be enough. And that's the UDC. I mean, you'll know that. I think you guys, being at Cheshire, will know that Botswana is the third wealthiest country in Sub-Saharan Africa. In per capita terms, it's the third richest country in Sub-Saharan Africa. There's absolutely no reason why our kids should still be getting more 1.8 gigabyte, Basanaboro and stuff like that. So the UDC has made it a priority. So the first thing that we look at, so you guys have to go out there and register. Second, register so that 1.8 cannot be enough for you guys. And as I was saying, in per capita terms, we are richer than South Africa. Because South Africa, we need to make sure that we decent. Not only that, because we complain because money is not enough. If they use the money for transportation, so life is so difficult for one of our schools. So we are relying on you guys to take this thing seriously so that we can change the government. I understand that this is a seminar. I understand a whole PhD, a doctor, and a good guy. It tells you something about it. Thank you, guys.
So now I'll be introducing our guest so that he can share what he has for you. As I've said, this is your chance, this is your platform to ask questions in relation to ways in which you yourselves can create your own platforms of empowering yourselves as students again. So I know you want to interact with our guest, so I'm going to be giving him the platform.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I am thrilled to be here with you. I feel energized to see your happy, your beautiful faces, beautiful people, and it strengthens me. Let me gratefully acknowledge first your leader here, who had the courage to reach out, not just reach out, issued an instruction, not a request. He didn't request. He instructed that today I must be here. And I responded, I believe, appropriately, and I'm here with you today. May I also acknowledge Mr. Nzima here. I think he's almost as old as you. He's quite young. And he has big ambitions to be a member of Parliament. He's also a very erudite, very educated person. Last time I checked, he held a master's degree. So he's no lightweight intellectual. He's a solid professional. And as aspiring professionals yourselves, you have an outpost in him. So you must register in large numbers and go and vote him, so that you can then give him instructions. And the reason I say this young leader here instructed me is so that he appreciates that in the same way that he was able to instruct me to be here today, he will be able to instruct me when I take over the government, on what to do with him, with every one of you, and how we configure the economy, society going forward. Let me also thank Dr. Teko, very radical thinker, an economist who guides, informs, and directs my thoughts on matters economic. And let me also thank my good friend and confidant, who is always with me. But above all, let me individually and personally acknowledge and greet every one of you. I am truly, truly blessed and honored to be in your midst today. I was told we're going to have a conversation. In other words, each and every one of you, or as many of you as will be able to speak, will speak to me. You'll tell me your thoughts. You'll give me ideas. You'll interpret some of the realities that you confront in your everyday lives. You will give me the benefit of your lived experiences. And you will also give me your own perspectives on how to resolve some of these persistent and trenchant problems that you face in your lives. I know some of the crises that you encounter. Some of you, especially the males, encounter the crisis of masculinity. What does it mean to be male in this day and age? What does it mean? And I know the females also encounter a crisis of femininity. What does it mean to be feminine? What does it mean to be female? And of course, there's that area, that penumbral region. I don't want to call it gray. That penumbral region between all these different genders and sexes, if you will. There's that space as well. We need to interrogate, we need to engage with it as best we can. The crisis of masculinity sometimes manifests itself in a misconception. A misconception that to be male, you've got to be emotionally detached, aloof, and cold. That to be male, you must be devoid of empathy. And so when they say to you, be a man, they say that sometimes in the context of you expressing yourself in tears, because you've been moved to tears, you've been hurt, you're in pain, you're in agony. And so some will look at you and say, be a man about this situation. Meaning, don't cry. Why? Because boys don't cry. That's what they say. It's a myth, it's a misconception. And it is a misconception that destroys many males. Because it creates a divide, a chasm between them and their emotions. It results in a situation that psychologists describe as alexithymia, an inability to express yourself emotionally. When you are faced with a situation that requires you to cry, please cry. Whether you are male or female, express those emotions. It's good to do. It's also therapeutic. It provides an outlet for pain to ooze out of you. So it is a catharsis. It's a cathartic moment. You allow it to flow out. That's what catharsis is. You let it flow out of you. And when you've done so, you feel a lot better. You feel a lot calmer. You haven't bottled the pain and the agony inside. So be a man must not render you destitute of this emotional element in a human being. That's the first myth and misconception that we must overcome. The second is the myth of expressing yourself aggressively. To be a man, you must be aggressive. No, you don't necessarily have to be aggressive. You mustn't always express yourself in aggression. And when you are able to contain these aggressive proclivities, these gangster tendencies that you are trained to adopt, when you are able to mitigate them and put aside the aggression, you become more human, you become more empathetic, you become a better male. And the third myth for me is what I call the myth of the beautiful. The belief that you must have money and that money is everything. I'm sure if I asked many of you here, what do you want to get? What do you want to have? Money. It is indicated as an end in and of itself. The myth of the beautiful. And so a lot of people, young people, get absorbed in this mad rush to get money however they get it. And so some of them want to sell drugs because they want money. Some of them want to commit crime. Some in the process of trying to get money can even kill, shed blood for money. And so you need to overcome this urge to want money. Because when you want money, when all you live for is to get money, you suffer from the problem of venality, purchasability. Means those who have money can buy you. All they need to do is to flash bills at you, words of cash, and they'll have you. You need to overcome this propensity to want money. So these interconnected myths of masculinity are extremely dangerous, and they make for a society that is devoid of empathy and humanity, males in particular. And the myth of femininity. This myth often expresses itself in this way. First, a female is raised to feel inadequate. You are not enough. You must look at yourself from outside of yourself through the prism of some male. So even the way women dress, they don't dress for themselves to express some trait of their personality. They dress to impress some male. Because femininity has been made to take the locus of control. You're no longer in control of who you are. This locus of control has been taken away from you and is situated outside of you. And so you see yourself. You gauge and value yourself in terms of what you think people out there want of you, not what you want. That's a very dangerous myth of femininity. That's not femininity. The second myth flowing from the first is that you think, because you are not enough, you are inadequate, you need external validation. You need a man to tell you you are beautiful. You don't think you are beautiful. You don't feel beautiful. You don't appreciate yourself as beautiful, whatever beautiful means. But you want some external individual to tell you and keep reminding you that you are beautiful. And only then do you feel validated. And because of this, there is this dominant urge to seek attachment at all costs. You want to be attached to some male. You don't even have time to examine the worth and quality of this male that you want to attach yourself to. You are in a hurry to get attached. You are insecure if you are not attached. So you attach yourself, you become an adjunct, an attachment. You become a footnote in somebody's narrative because you've been disempowered. You don't feel enough. You don't feel valued. And so when you go about life, you are living to attract a male who will then do what? Sweep you off your feet and, as they say, make you a woman and marry you. If you're not married, you don't think you are enough. There's something missing. So you value yourself on the basis of whether you are married, you are on your way to being married, and when you are in a relationship with any individual, male, you tolerate a lot of abuse because you fear to get out. This is where the phenomenon of gender-based violence takes root. So you need to value yourself enough as a woman, as a female, to be able to feel valid, feel worthy, feel beautiful, feel content without any external influence, stimulus, or validation. These are the issues. Now, when you are this individual who is complete in the sense of in touch with your emotions, males must also be in touch with their feminine side. There are characters called metrosexuals. A metrosexual is a male who has appreciated that he also has feminine attributes. He has embraced these feminine attributes. He is not denying them. So the metrosexual is not aggressive, measured. The metrosexual is clean, polished, suave. That's a person who is in control of themselves. And so I doubt if a metrosexual would abuse, would be aggressive, would commit gender-based violence. And when you are in that space, if you are in a relationship and the person you are in a relationship with tells you it's over, what do you say? You don't grab a knife and snuff the life out of them. You thank them for the honor of having allowed you to be part of their lives. You thank them profusely, and you encourage them, and you wish them well. Genuinely. That's what must happen. So you don't fight over the breakup. No. You accept. And you keep going. Why? Because you are complete. You don't need, you're not half a person needing somebody else to complete you. Now if I've taken you from where you thought you were trapped in terms of the crisis of masculinity and the crisis of femininity. And I have brought you, as I hope, to a point where you value yourself. You feel beautiful, truly. Then we have begun to take the first few faltering steps in the direction of your own empowerment. You feel empowered. You are now in control of yourself. When you encounter situations, you are able to rationally evaluate and make rational decisions. It's important. This empowered individual now, sitting here in front of me and looking at me, now seeks to be empowered to take an active part in social life. This empowered young man, in touch with himself, metrosexual, you look to see, he looks clean, polished, suave, now has ambitions to change society, to affect others positively. He wants to become a member of parliament. What do you want to become? You need to reflect on that question. What do you want to become? What do you want to do? And why do you want to do it? You want to do it because you think you will make money? Is that what you think? If it was about money, some of us wouldn't be where we are. But it's not. It can never be. It's about a higher purpose. It's about finding something that is bigger and better than yourself and associating yourself with that which is bigger and better than yourself. The better to affect other people's lives positively. This is what it's about. So that at the end of your life, you can answer the profound and critical question that you need to wrestle with from now, if you haven't. What kind of human being were you? What kind of human being? It's a relational question. Who did you help? Who did you empower? Who did you positively affect? That is the question. And those who are religious say, when you are to meet your maker, that's the question you have to answer. It's not how much wealth you acquired. No. How many cars you bought? What type of cars they were? How many houses? How many cattle? It's not about that. It's not about conquest. How many people did you abuse? How many women did you sleep with? No, it's not about that. What kind of human being were you? And the word human, comes from a Latin word called humando. Humando in Latin means barrier, to bury. So when we say human, we are saying about you that you are on a short journey from womb to tomb. It's a very short journey. It's defined. You're not going to live forever. Your journey is from womb. It lies splattered between your birth and your death certificate. That's your life. How do you want to live this life? Who are you? These are the issues. And as I say, ultimately, the question is a relational question. What kind of human being were you? And we must all answer this question. And the best way of answering this question as I conclude, so that I can give you time to engage and make it a Q&A. The best way of answering this question is when you get to your room or get to your abode, take a piece of paper and a pen, or go on your iPad or on your laptop and start typing. Right. When you are dead, and somebody is standing next to your coffee, and they have the obligation to speak about you, what do you want them to say about you? I know what happened. Oh, this was a nice gentleman talking about a thief. Talking about somebody who brutalized society. I'm not talking about that. I want you to prepare an honest obituary about yourself while you're still alive. Right now, what do you want them to say? She was a very decent human being. She loved people. She helped. She participated in molding up and coming children. He was an artist. All the good things that you want people to say about you, write them down. All of them. And then live those. Be exactly how you want to be described when you are. Don't make life difficult for us, who may have the invidious obligation to talk about you when you are born. Help us speak the truth about you. And you do that by wrestling with this existential question of what kind of human being were you? And so, these campus conversations that seek to shape and create platforms for empowerment. When you're empowered, what are you being empowered for? Just to have power, feel empowered for what? What's the reason? What's the purpose? What's the animating impulse for your empowerment? If they ask this question of me, I'll answer it. All my life, I've dedicated myself to the service of others. That's called love. Love. Love not in some hedonistic, self-titillating sense. No. Love in the sense of a supreme and abiding commitment to the well-being of others. That's love. That's the love I live. That's the love I'm talking about. Not self-pleasuring. No. I'm talking about love in its purest, most pristine sense. That enduring, that abiding commitment to the well-being of others. I wouldn't be here if I didn't love you people. I love you so. That's why I'm here. Because I want you to succeed. I want you to be the very best version of yourself. I want you to also translate into a person of supreme love and commitment to the well-being of others, so that together we become bearers of that flame of love that is transmitted across generations, that transmits hope, that transforms, that makes the world a better place, and we live it a better place than we found it. This is what I am about. What are you about? What have you associated yourself with that is bigger and better than yourself? What is it? Find it. And express yourself freely when you have. And so, right now, the most urgent assignment for all of us is to change government. Change government. Why? Because you want a government that works for you, that sees you as worthy of a massive investment in terms of an outlay of resources to help you. What does that mean in flesh and blood terms? It means when you come to school, you must be well fed. well-clad, well-sheltered. You must have all the accoutrements of enabling you to acquire knowledge. You must not be hungry. You must not be angry. You must not be depressed. You need to be happy. And we will give you, we say, an allowance. We placed it in 2019 at 2,500. We'll look at it again. And you will tell us whether the 2.5 is still okay. And if you feel, and you will make a case, Dr. Sebo, as an economist, will help you frame the discourse and say, how do you convince this man? Instruct him. Give him an instruction that now we no longer want it to be 2.5, we want it to be 3. Give him reasons, solid justifications. And when you come with these reasoned arguments and you place them before me, there's no way in which I will do my own thing, because it's not about me, it's about you. So that's what we say. Investing in you means ensuring that when you come to school, you're well taken care of. That's why the allowance is critical. It's a life and death issue for most of you. You know why? If you don't have decent accommodation, you don't eat well, you don't dress decently, you become easy pickings for those out there on the prowl. You become liable to abuse because you are a dependent. You become over-dependent on some person, normally a male, who will abuse you. And you can't walk away. Why? Because he's paying your rent. He bought you the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And you think that's what defines you. No, it doesn't. So, if we give you a decent allowance and enable you to not be in dire need, we enable you then to focus on the acquisition of knowledge. Very important. May seem very rudimentary. It is a very profound proposition. So ultimately, when you go out to vote, it's not a question of do you like this guy or do you like that one. It's about, do you want to continue to get, what is 1 point what? 1.5. Because some of you may feel it's okay. I'm worth 1.5. If you give me anything else, I will go mad. If that's what you think, well, that's your choice. But if you think, I deserve better, then you will say to yourself, this guy here says, I must be paid 2,500. It's a commitment he is making. His government will pay me 2.5 or whatever him and I would have determined above the 2.5. And if you say to yourself, I think I am worth more than 1.5. I want to get this 2.5. Then you will know how to vote. Because all I have to do when I take over is to implement exactly, make sure you are paid the 2.5 and the very next month. Not many years after. Under my government, there will be no, what do you call it, DTF. They've forgotten to upload. The money hasn't reported. In this day and age of technology, don't tell me that. Don't give me that crap. On the day, on the dot, the money must arrive. It's as easy as that. And so, if you think you take yourself seriously enough to see these things as things you deserve, then I'm not in any doubt, not in the slightest, that you will vote for change. And if you want to be a hostage of poverty, these grinding indecencies that come with poverty, you have to be trapped there. I can't force you. I can only enlighten you, as I believe I'm trying to right now. And so on that cheerful note, let me encourage you there in October to vote, and vote properly. Vote and vote proper. You know what proper means. And it's in October, we believe. October is an interesting month. On the 4th of October, 1957, the Soviet Union, now Russia, launched into space the very first space shuttle to orbit into space. It was called Sputnik. And the world was in shock. It was a competition between the Americans and the Russians. And the Russians won. The then President of the United States, Dwight Eisenhower, called an emergency meeting and said, how could we be beaten by the Russians? And a team of researchers that he had assigned came back to him and said to him, the reason they beat us is that their education system is superior. And they looked at the curriculum, compared, said, their education system is astronomically superior to ours. What did he do? That same day, he pumped into education hundreds of millions of dollars. A president who wanted his people to excel. You look at the results in the secondary schools now. Number one school that is said to be at the top has, what is the percentage? 43%. Go to Zimbabwe. Top schools. 43% is not even counted. Those guys are hitting 100%. The lowest, last time I checked, was sitting at 89%. Lowest pass rate. And you're sitting here and allowing yourself to learn in an environment that does not conduce to learning, that destroys you, that then glorifies a 43% pass rate, and people say it's okay. St. Joseph's or whatever the school is number one at 43%. And the whole president is sitting there and he doesn't call an emergency meeting and pump billions into the education system. Then you know the president is either crazy or, I'm not saying anybody's crazy. I'm saying if you have this kind of crisis and the person at the helm doesn't react the same way Dwight Eisenhower reacted in 1957, if the person leading does not find this a tragedy, then he is brain dead. You need to get rid of him before he takes you to the grave. So now the ball is in your court. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much for listening. I believe each one of you listened very attentively to what our guest had to say. And thank you very much for gracing our event. So now we get into the second part of our seminar, which is supposed to be campus conversations seminar. So this is how it's going to work. We are going to be having questions, we are going to be having conversations. Take this to be so let's interact, let's not be So this is how it's going to work. We are going to be taking questions and we are going to be having a dialogue. So I think we can start right now. If you have a question or anything, just raise up your hand and you'll be given a platform.
But to be honest, I'm very humbled to be standing in front of you and to be given this platform for the free express. We normally don't get this kind of platform. So the protocols have been observed, right? So I don't know if mine is a comment or so there's just a bunch of things that I want to say, but it's like it can cover it. So the first thing is the first thing is, like Mr. Duma Boko has mentioned, the main mandate is to what? Is targeting Banaba Basita, right? And I would say this is a good thing because we are the future generation. And like he mentioned over again, if we are the one who are supposed to make the change, right? We cannot be focused on what that are out there that are trying to make life in the next years, but they must say, and it's like a gift. We don't get this often, right? And being given this gift, we should take it upon ourselves to make the right decision, right? And then to also say, like he has mentioned, the highest score is standing at 43%, right? And how any urgent meeting, emergency meeting that have been called for the bottom, there's a crisis, right? Remember, school, we are not the priority. It comes with priorities. If for the priorities who are all in school, what's going to happen? Because if at all, when have a priority, there could have been an emergency call, meeting, or whatever, right, to be addressed. And then the other thing, is that Mr. Duma, our mindset, right? The way that we psychologically, right? And there's something that I want to say to her. So I want to understand in like different home setups, right? Some of us we didn't grow up in father figure homes. Some of us have been like in abusive family, abusive mother and father. And as a student, also university, as a lady or lady, when you go out there, when you start dating, you grow up in a family, you didn't have a father figure, right? So you don't know how a man is supposed to treat you, right? You don't know because how is so when I show love to your mom, so you just settle for what you have, right? And then the other thing, you grow up in an abusive homestead, right? So that's we number again. When you're in a relationship, let's say for example a boy child, right? Over again, her mom would not be there each and every time. The next thing I has a number relationship, and he feels that's the way to understand it. That's the way to show where you are a man, right? And these are the things that they are overseen and they're not addressed, but we are suffering. That's why I'm going to be cases of. That's the cases of abuse, sexual assault, and everything. And the other concern, if you feel like it's really over. It's really overlooked. Like he has mentioned, the way we dress as ladies, external validation, for a man, you look beautiful, you look stunning, right? But then these things, how I don't know if I should say this, Maloba, I went out, I was feeling the way I thought for it, I like it, right? And then this lady, she calls me, she's like, Kakwana, approach her, you are wearing nice shoes. Okay, thank you. And we go rape. So that's them hard to go rape because harapara. Motoa and rape, and we don't rape. I can't tell you not because the way I'm dressing. If we would do something, the way I dress shouldn't bother you at all. And they shouldn't even have any impact on you.
Thank you so much. Very brilliant ideas that you've raised. While you're thinking about other brilliant ideas, it's important to thank you for bringing these thoughts out and raising real life challenges, homesteads, because this is where the cradle of crisis really is. I'll give you an interesting story about my experience when I was coming up as an attorney. A guy walked into my office, a soldier dressed in military uniform, a senior soldier. I was young. He says to me, I have a problem. What is the problem? I have a marital problem. So he related to me. And he showed me bruises. You know these senior officers have a stick. This, I don't know what they call it, stick of honor. He was holding this stick. And he shows me bruises and abrasions on his body. And he says, I've just been assaulted by my wife. This is what she does. So I sit down, I'm getting very angry as he's telling me. He said, I'm writing because he wants a divorce, so I'm trying to frame the grounds. And he tells me a harrowing tale of repetitive abuse by his wife. And as he's telling me this, I'm looking at him and saying to myself, this guy is a soldier. He knows how to shoot. He's the guy charged with defending me. He comes here, distraught, he has just been assaulted and he keeps being assaulted by his wife. So at a certain point, towards the end, I put down the pen and I looked at him because I was something in me said I should say to him, bro, you don't need a lawyer, you need a bouncer to go and beat up your wife. So as I was busy thinking, I said, before I tell him this, let me ask him. So I said to him, brother, this woman is too strong. She overpowers you. She beats you. She says, no. It's my fault. What is your problem? And I think he figured, this guy is in crisis. He doesn't understand. He says to me, I grew up in an abusive household where my father physically abused my mother and beat her up every day. He says, I resolved when I was young, when I was growing up, that I would never lay a hand on a woman. And he says, that is why when this woman attacks and does all these things, I will never assault her back, and I've never assaulted him back. I was humbled by that. Here's a guy from that invidious environment background comes and he has the presence of mind to take a decision and stick with it. So there are some of these that are exceptions to the general rule, which is that these abusive relationships, marriages, households, mold and shape abusive men and women who are tolerant of abuse. And so what do we need to do then? We need to descend, drill it down to the family. We've said, as this new government is coming in October, and it's coming, by the way, make no mistake about it. Be in no doubt and associate yourself so that I don't forget your face. So, we will have at every school a psychologist who's able to identify traces of abuse in children, because that's where you see it. This child comes from an abusive household. You must intervene and deploy remedial measures, social workers, psychologists, therapists, to go back to the family and address the problem there. But first, you need to acknowledge that there's a problem. You need to detect, and you then need to respond decisively, without punishing as such, but seeking to cure, seeking to heal, deploying interventions that help. And so I appreciate the issues that you raised. And on the issue of dress, this narrative that if you dress this way, you are inviting abuse. It's a myth that we need to debunk. It is no justification whatsoever. Not at all. In the olden days, people were not wearing clothes the bulk of the time. Did they get raped? When you see these folks who do traditional dance, you see how they dress. In the olden days, that's how people dressed. Nobody raped them. Why? Because society was protective of its people, especially the women folk. We've lost that completely. And so we justify this egregious misbehavior on people's part by demonizing somebody's dress code. We need to get over that. And so it's very, very important, and I'm very grateful that you raised these issues. These are very brilliant, real life issues. So thank you so much for raising them.
All right, so we are continuing. I believe time is also not our.
Oh yeah, so if you get a chance, if you want to 3 or 4 please, if you get a chance, just share the thing so that we can get more close. But anyways, hi guys. Good night to the live business. So now, Kantele, you said something that really dug deep in my heart. You said, what do you want to become? 2021, I came to the school and I had to make a very tough decision between following my passion, something that I'm passionate about, something that I love and I know deep down my heart but I'm going to make it. And taking a risk to do something, saying, oh yeah, I can get a job and live a stable life. So now my passion is acting. I love acting. I love creative arts. So I just had to come here just because, you know. Yeah. So now my question is there a hope for us when you take on the presidential seat? Is there hope for us from now? Thank you.
I think for me personally, I have a few concerns and questions. And for some of them, we have a sponsorship, if I may say. In cases that we have friends, relatives, brothers, and whatever. But they came to tertiary, and then tertiary, it's hard. So they didn't make it to the next semester, so they had to be cut off. But now, I apply and I kind of or something. So committee, others they end up getting certificates and they're not even worth it. They earn majagotas, but they have families to sustain. So my question pertaining that statement, when you get the presidency or you get, are you gonna get the opportunity to come back immediately to study for the and they didn't need a master's, and then the other thing I've realized when I have experience, or should I say legal people who are 18 and above, we are not into politics. I don't know why, because they were like, I'm not into politics. I'm not into politics. But at the end of the day, you want change. Allowance you get, but we are not into politics. So, all I'm saying is, I didn't have a link and king. Something about the register, I think I should register. Vote for the party you want. That's the thing. And then one other thing is, I don't know if the attachment, the intention, and whatnot. I think all varsity students, so someone abandoned that opportunity, like your attachment, this girl has specific attachment thing. Furthermore, I think as students, we deserve, should I say, international skills, knowledge. I get a lot of hospitality. I can go to Switzerland. That's how they operate. When I come back to the country, I'm able to implement that. I'm able to enhance, if I may say, the tourism.
While waiting for the last few, thank you very much. Creatives, let's start there. And I'll link these questions and comments. You know, the creative industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It is. In this day and age, the machine at some point will replace the human in the performance of certain tasks. Anything that is repeatable can be done by a machine. Anything that is repeatable, mechanical, will be done by a machine at some point. Because all you need to do is to program the machine. Some algorithm will enable this machine to do some of these jobs. But a machine will not be able to replace the human being in the industry of performance, acting, the creative industry. So the real sustenance of society in terms of skills and self-expression lies in the creative industry. And that's a fact. That's why these actors in Hollywood make so much money. That's why you know them. That's why they are called celebrities. Because they have some special skill that cannot be translated into an algorithm and performed by a machine in the same way that the human being can. And so, the future of work lies in the creative industry. And so, I appreciate the challenge that you have to face. To give up your passion